Hi guys, Eclectic Impromptus. Hope you're having a good Sunday. So, this weekend is a foodie kind of weekend. I mean, the weather's been gloomy, and hey, what better way to deal with it than not only cook but have comfort food, right? But in this case, tomorrow I have that NAMI potluck, the multicultural potluck that I briefly mentioned at the beginning of this month, and I'm going to be making Ukrainian cabbage rolls for that. So, for starters, I have the water set because I'm going to boil the cabbage. This is one of the more time consuming parts of this. And also going to set the oven for 325. So, yep, 325 degrees Fahrenheit. So, while that's going, I'm also letting the water boil. And because this is a school thing, I'm doubling it. So normally you would have like one head of cabbage. I'm going to do two. And anybody with dietary stuff, this should be gluten free. I'm making it gluten free anyways. And however, there's also I'm going to add mozzarella cheese. Normally you don't do this, but I'm doing it anyways. I like mozzarella cheese. And sour cream would also be involved. So for those that are lactose intolerant, an alternative could be don't put cheese or add this with sour cream. You can also do whatever is a lactose substitute. Not sure what there are. And this also normally calls for rice. I don't put rice in it. I find it a little too bland. At least when I cook Ukrainian cabbage rolls, my husband would side with me on this. So, but this does call for rice. If you want to add rice, if you just do one batch, it's 1.5 cups. But because this would be a double batch, this would be 3 cups. And I'll try to remember as I go along, say, for those that do want to add rice, when to put it in. So, see, this is, once this starts getting a little more warmer, I'm going to put the cabbage in. I've got this warming up also. I added a little, so I'm going to add a little more. So, I'm going to go ahead and put the cabbage in now. And I don't think I have a big enough pan to put both, so I'm going to be doing one at a time. So another factor why I consider this part tedious. But once this gets closer, I'll be back, so stay tuned. Oh, and when you do steam the cabbage, I believe it's steam it till al dente and then turn it down to simmer for about 20 minutes. So before I forget that, stay tuned. I also forgot one more thing. Of course, when you steam till al dente and then cook for like 20 minutes, yeah, good idea to have the lid. I forgot about that. Sorry I didn't mention it earlier. And there was one other thing I want to give a shout out. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to the NAMI group, particularly with Mrs. Wasilenko. She's an amazing lady, and doing this, and for everybody else in the group, you guys are awesome. Also to my art professor, Professor Johnson, if she hadn't recruited me to do a sign, I wouldn't be doing this, so that's cool. And there was others, but I forgot. Oh, there's a YouTuber, Crew Cali, that's spelled Kr3WKALI. He's another YouTuber. He's kind of an inspiration to doing stuff like this. He cooks the meals, shows you how to do it, and even goes to Costco or wherever else to buy these ingredients. And then he makes it and shows you how. And then he goes out into the community and gives these meals to homeless people. Yesterday, my husband and I saw an episode where he smoked 100 pounds of salmon. And he also made mashed potatoes and asparagus, showed you how to do it. And then he went and fed all the smoked salmon and potatoes and asparagus to the homeless. So I wanted to give a shout out to him as well if he ever gets a chance to see us, and I hope he does. All right, I'll be back in a little bit. Stay tuned. Hi guys, I'm back. So the cabbage is almost set. So it'd be around this time you would start cooking the rice if you decide to have rice in this. And in the process, got a whole slew of meat. The sweet Gianelli sausage and hamburger meat. So this would be pretty meaty, I'm sure. It also diced up onions. Yeah, got that part over and done with. I don't like cutting onions, just the chemicals. It just bothers my eyes. I think everybody can relate to that, right? But this is almost done. It's got a couple minutes left. Basically, you just take the cabbage out of the water, put it in the colander, rinse it off. It might be a little warm, so if you gotta run cold water, you do what you gotta do. And this might take a little while to brown up, so once it's browned up or pretty close to it, you want to add the onions. Yeah, wish me luck, because this is all full of meat, so this should be a fun challenge to get it all browned and browned thoroughly and stuff, but I think we got this. So, anyhow, once it's getting close to being browned, I'll add the onions, stir it up, and I'll show you the next step. Stay tuned. Okay, so the meat's almost cooked. So I ended up splitting it in 2 separate pans. I figured it just seemed like the more prudent way to go, and it'll cook a little thoroughly and easier and stuff. So I've got this amount of onions. I'm just going to put it in here. It'll help cook things, and it's going to add flavor to the meat. Yeah, and just stir it. Well, if you fell on the floor, I guess I'll be sweeping up in a little bit. That's all right. So definitely add some flavor to it. So yeah, the meat's getting very close, but not close enough. So I'll be back with the next step, probably within the next few minutes. Okay, so the meat's all browned up and the onions should be cooked. So just transfer this over here. And once this has a second to cool down, we'll prep it up accordingly. So since this is going to the NAMI thing tomorrow, oh, and by the way, I'm going to do a video clip of it. I've been given the go-ahead, so that'll be fun. So, in a sense, this cooking thing I'm doing tonight, it's part 1 to this whole thing. But this is the pan that I'll be using. I'm going to wait for this burner to cool off. You know, you put something metallic on. It's going to be hot as heck, and yeah. Good to be safe about it, so. And I'll be back. Okay, so the first step, that burner's kind of cooled down now for the most part, so take a cabbage leaf. Of course, this one's being stubborn and as a mule. That's all right. So, yeah, a little stubborn here. And this is looking a little iffy, so I'm going to toss that out real quick. Okay. Oh, the next one won't be so iffy. Alright, this looks good. So, what you want to do, take a spoon, right? And you just put the meat or rice or both even inside the. Actually, this might work better if I go with a bigger spoon. And essentially, you just roll this up. Of course, this one's not cooperating, but that's okay. If there's something a little extra, you can also probably cover that. And some of it might not be perfect about it, but it's fine. So, set here. Repeat the process. And if anybody's wondering where I got this recipe from, it's allrecipes.com. You can type in Ukrainian cabbage rolls and Oh. I think it might help next time I cut the head off this little end piece here. Next time in the future, going forward. Okay. So basically you're going to be repeating the process. This might take me a little while, so I'll be back. I'm back. So had to put my hair up. I kept getting in the way. Good rule of thumb if you're cooking, especially for like other people. Yeah, you might want, if you have longer hair, yeah, you need to put your hair up. It's a good idea. I have to do that when I work at the Reef and other past restaurants. And on top of that, if you work in a restaurant and you're a line cook, you have to not only put your hair up or get it cut or whatever, you also have to cover it with a hat or bandana or some sort of head covering or a hairnet. It's New York State law. I respect that 100%. So, yeah. Fortunately, no hairs in the food, so, no harm done. But that random trivia fact, you live in New York and you work on the line especially, yeah, put your hair up and wear some sort of head covering or hairnet. But, anywho, also, fun fact, in Ukraine, when you make cabbage rolls, they're known as holubtsi. So that's spelled Holubtsi. And then if not only is it popular in Ukraine and probably like Russia and stuff, it's also popular like Poland, Slovakia, so the surrounding area. And I believe Poland and Slovakia is known as Galumpki. GALUMPKI, I believe, but don't quote me on that. And I've also heard like in the Balkan Peninsula, that's where like Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, that part of the world is known as Sarma. So, yeah, pretty cool, huh? Okay, so back to, and kind of find out I had a lot of meat extra. So, what you want to do next, got this to open. So you think of, it could be diced tomatoes or some sort of tomato juice. I use spaghetti sauce. Marinara sauce could also work too. And in a manner of speaking, it could be like Italy and Ukraine unite or something because I'm adding mozzarella or and this is meat pasta sauce, but that's kind of an Italian thing if you think about it. So it's like Italy and Ukraine. And that would be a cool combination. Italy and Ukraine, it's a cool combination. Add a little more spaghetti sauce. Uh-oh. Don't let that spill. Oh, easy. I think that's good because it's just going to spill over and we don't want that. All right. But not the end of the world if it happens. Let's see. Put that in the fridge. And then finally, get some mozzarella cheese. Yeah, and I see a little bit of spaghetti sauce leaking onto the stove top. That's funny. All right. Okay. Grab a paper towel, wipe this off real quick so it doesn't make a mess in the oven. go. That's probably all right now. And then finally, they recommend you cover it. So, I'm going to cover this up with aluminum foil. And set that over here for now. All right. Balance that's my hand, so. All right. So, as a reminder, you preheat the oven to 325. Sorry, my paper towels are in the way. So, it's 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're baking this for 2 hours. So, all right. So, without further ado, I'll be right back in about a couple of hours. Hi guys, so the cabbage rolls just finished up, and ooh, look how cheesy that is. So, as a general rule of thumb, since I'm going to put this in the fridge to let it cool overnight, and I'll just heat it up on campus, they have like microwaves, toaster ovens. We'll figure something out as far as warming it all back up goes. So, a good rule of thumb, if you put something hot in the fridge, like, you cook it the night before, and then you're going to want to be sure to keep this part, even if it's partially uncovered. I learned this at the Reef 4 years ago when I first started working there. So when you take like hot food from like the steamer, because we keep a lot of the hot food stored there during service, you definitely want to have it uncovered, even if it's partially, before you put it in the walk-in cooler. And here's why. If you put something extremely hot into an extremely cold area, it doesn't allow time to cool down when it's covered. It just cooks, and it cooks, and it cooks. And it leads to this bacteria being formed, and that can make you really sick if you eat that as a result with that bacteria. So, yeah, good idea to keep it uncovered, or let it cool down a little bit at the very least before you put it in the fridge. So, just thought I'd share that. Also, something else I forgot to share. At Aldi's, where I got my ingredients for the cabbage rolls, also get baklava. I'm also bringing that in too. So baklava is this dessert that's found in like the Mediterranean area, as well as like the Balkan Peninsula. So like Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, that part of the world. But it's also Greece, Turkey, Central Asia, which I think is like Armenia, other parts that used to be part of the former Soviet Union. I don't remember all the countries. There's like a lot of countries that broke off when the Soviet Union stopped being a country back in the early 90s. But that part of the world, and North Africa too, so like Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt. So, yeah, I thought I'd share that as a fun fact. So, yeah, it's definitely like Eastern European, Mediterranean that I'm bringing in tomorrow. So, that'll be fun. But, yeah, doesn't that look great? Anyhow, I hope you guys liked this video. It was fun doing that. Time-consuming process to make the cabbage rolls, but hey, it was well worth it and well worth the video. So, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and share. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.